Hello, this is an informational video on understanding hardware. As a technology coach, I feel as though it is important to provide these types of resources that are available to educators looking to learn more about the topic. So first of all, what is hardware? Hardware can be defined as the mechanical, electronic, and electrical devices comprising a computer system, as a CPU, disk drives, keyboards, or screen. So what does this mean? It's not a very good definition for deciphering exactly what hardware is. To decipher hardware, we first need to know the difference between hardware and software. Hardware is the components on the computer that you can physically touch. Software is what's on the computer. So for example, let's take this laptop. Hardware, software. Let's look at that again. Hardware is the physical components that you can touch, such as the keyboard and the mouse trackpad. On a typical desktop computer, these components can be separate. On the laptop, they're all incorporated in one. Software is what we see on the computer screen, so what helps us to navigate our applications. Next, we'll look at input devices. Any input device is a peripheral used to provide data and control signals to a computer. A peripheral is a piece of computer equipment. Types of input devices include the items in orange bullets. Keyboards, which can be any type of keyboard, including wireless. Pointer devices, which includes mouse, joystick, or pointing sticks. The pointer is used to navigate the GUI, or the graphic user interface, which is what we see when we look at the computer screen. Composite devices are input devices that can be combined into a single physical device. Examples of this would include game controllers, gamepad, paddle, jog dial, or a knob. Typically, a mouse could be considered a composite device since it both tracks movement and provides buttons for clicking. However, composite devices are considered to be more than two forms of input. Lastly, imaging and video devices are used to digitize images or video from the outside world into the computer. This information can be stored in large amounts of formats. Examples of imaging and video devices include camera, camcorder, portable, media player, webcam, Microsoft Kinect sensor, image scanner, fingerprint scanner, and many more. So an input device is any type of hardware that allows you to put data into the computer. We can see here are some examples. We went over the keyboard, the pointer device, remote controls, scanners, graphics tablets, and many more. Output devices is any piece of computer hardware equipment used to communicate the results of data processing carried out by an information processing system, which converts the electronically generated information into human readable form. Graphics. Graphics are digital images. A digital image is a numeric representation of an image stored on a computer. They do not have a physical size until they are displayed on a screen or printed on paper. Until that point, they are just a collection of numbers on the computer's hard drive that describe the individual elements of a picture and how they are arranged. So graphics are the result of this. It's the type of output that creates the digital image that we see. Tactile technology takes advantage of the sense of touch by applying forces, vibrations, or motions to the user. Devices designed to provide tactile output are generally restricted to specific functions. Several printers and waxjet printers have the capability of producing raised line drawings. There's also handheld devices that use an array of vibrating pins to present a tactile outline of the characters or text under the viewing window of the device. Audio is a speech output computer system. These systems can be read to screen the text the computer to computer users. Special software programs called screen readers attempt to identify and interpret what is being displayed on the screen and synthesize speech data to vocalize sound or text. Here are some examples of output devices. Next, the internal bus devices. The internal bus connects all the internal components of a computer, such as the CPU and memory, to the motherboard. Internal data buses are also referred to as the local bus because they are intended to connect to local devices. This bus is typically rather quick and is independent of the rest of the computer operations. In general, the internal bus controllers control the specific output devices, internet access, and most older systems, specific input devices. Other types of internal bus devices might control disk drives, such as IED, serial ATA, or floppy disks. An external bus connects the computer to peripheral devices. The external bus, or expansion bus, is made up of the electronic pathways that connect different external devices, such as printers, to the computer. You have probably heard of a USB. This is an example of an external bus. Internal and removable storage devices. There are a lot of different internal and removable storage devices. It's not necessary to know all of them when discussing hardware, but it is important to know the basics. Internal storage is defined as a system or hardware component that is located inside the computer used for storage purposes. The most basic storage is storage needed to run the operating system. It also stores data for application and software. The internal storage allows you to save data very rapidly. However, the downside is that if anything happens to your computer or the hardware malfunctions, it is likely that your saved data will be gone. This is why it's important to back up your files and data on an external storage device. So removable storage or external storage devices are exactly what they state: storage devices outside of the computer, which allows for easy transportation of information. Examples of removable storage include a USB, a removable hard drive, rewritable CDs, or hard disks. Removable storage is also a good way to back up your information stored on your computer. The motherboard. A motherboard allows the parts of your computer to receive power and communicate with one another. In order for a computer to operate, it has to have a motherboard. Everything that runs the computer or enhances its performance is either part of the motherboard or plugs into it via slot or port. There's so much that goes into a motherboard, a lot more depth that we could go into. For this video, my goal is to introduce you to keep the components of the hardware in the computer and what it needs to function properly. As you see from the diagram, the motherboard, there are so many faucets that make up the system. I would recommend looking further into these different aspects if your focus is to understand more about manipulating hardware. As for troubleshooting, troubleshooting is not as simple to troubleshoot when you're focusing on hardware and your hardware is malfunctioning as it is with your software. However, when your computer is having troubles running properly, it is normally a good idea to let your computer reboot. This is the key to troubleshooting with hardware. Let your computer reboot. If the problem still exists, you may want to seek a technology or coordinator or a technician's help. So, that's all I have for us today about understanding hardware. Thank you for tuning in.